Spider-Man, he's getting all the attention now.
Ooh, I like that, Spider-Man. That might be Cole's new nickname.
Swider basket and a foul.
Eddie Casey.
Swider answers back. Swider from deep. Laces the three. Swider and one. Count the bucket.
I know you guys been waiting for this for a long time. I know I've been gone for a while. The Swider Show's had a little bit of a little break, as you would say, a little break. But Patty, I'm happy to say that we're back, and we're back in the NBA. We're back on contract. Episode 40 what, Patty? It's been a while.
It's a 50 burger, brother. This is
Wow.
episode 50, the half-century mark for the Swider Show.
That makes it even better.
I think, first of all, congratulations are in order, obviously, to you.
Wow.
Congrats on signing the deal. Unbelievable. We'll go through blah, blah, blah. But I think we got to say hello, Swider. I feel like I got a feeling in my bones right now that we got a lot of new listeners. We got a lot of Heat faithful that were tuning in for the first time. We found out who you were, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And now they're like checking out the pod. So what's up, guys? This is the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We're actually episode 50. We're doing this a little over a year. I'll just do a quick intro since we probably have some new listeners.
Of course.
I came up with the idea in my room in Los Angeles, and Patty and I had always joked about having a podcast at Syracuse with our fellow Orangeman, Jimmy Boeheim. Just going back and forth, a little conversation, and then Patty actually went on a podcast and he was at Syracuse, met two really cool guys, Adam Lewis and Jake Sheridan, and he actually hit up Adam Lewis and Jake Sheridan to help produce the show. Adam has done an amazing job producing our show. Jake is usually like a very fun guy to have on the show every once in a while. He doesn't show up every
A glue
week.
guy. I would describe Sheridan as the glue guy of the pod.
Yep. He's the guy who's involved in the project, but comes every once in a while. But
yeah.
But yeah, no. So the pod's been going on for a little over a year, and we're excited for all the new listeners listening in, and we're ready to give you guys some great content.
Yeah, if you guys want to go back, there's plenty of good episodes in the archive on the feed. We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on everything. Like you always say at the end of the show, I give a nice little read in like a salesman type voice. So stick around
also
for that. That's maybe the best part of the show.
We've had some pretty good guests. We've had some pretty good guests too.
We had Austin Reeves before he blew up. I always say I think we should take about like 50% of the credit for that. Scottie Pippen Jr. a few times, the Boeheim brothers, a strong Syracuse Orange presence. Terrence Mann, Matt Ryan, but in the future we'll have a strong. This will be the number one Heat podcast in the world for the season. I'm putting my stake in the ground for that right now. But yeah, Swider, like I said, congratulations. How the hell do you feel? It's got to be like a relief. It's got to be excitement. I don't know. Yeah, just explain like how you're feeling. What, 2 days after you sign?
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy 2 days. It's been a crazy 3 weeks. Starting off in training camp and going into the preseason. As you guys have seen, it's been a great transition. I think just this year in general, I was just so much more prepared mentally, physically, emotionally to jump into this preseason and really just give it everything that I had, be able to show all my talents. If you guys are a Cole Swider fan in the past, you guys have seen me play with the Lakers in preseason, and I don't think I was as poised or composed to have a big preseason like I did this year. So just really blessed and thankful to the man above for giving me this opportunity with the Heat. I really truly think that it was meant to be for me to be on the Heat. Obviously getting let go by the Lakers in late July and kind of scrambling to find my next move. Niko Filipovic and Bill Duffy, my agents, really put me in a good situation. They talked me out of going to certain teams and talked me into going to the Heat. I remember talking to you guys, Patty and Adam, off camera, just telling you the options that I had and leaning one way, and then ended up choosing the Heat, and they did a great job steering me in that direction. And yeah, man, just super blessed and thankful. I think the Heat is a perfect organization for me. They've had guys, a lot of guys like me that. Like I've said in every single interview, obviously Duncan and I have grew really close. Bam and I have grown really close. And even shout out the Swider Show in one of my post-game press conferences. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, Patty, obviously a long-winded answer, but
No, that's perfect. That's why we're here, brother. This is long form media. You could talk for 3 hours if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm feeling great. I think it's a perfect situation, like I said before, and really excited to dive into the season with this group. And it's been a really, really fun team to be a part of, and obviously looking to etch our name to have a big year.
So let's start from the top. I think you want to start with training camp because that was the last time we talked. Was right before then. We haven't had you on the pod in almost a month. Me and Adam kind of did a bullpen game the week after. And then, like you said, we've had the last couple weeks off because you were shockingly busy playing in the preseason. So I don't know. How was training camp? Like, was the second one different than last year? Was there a lot of differences between being with different organizations, or like, I don't know, was it sort of the same type of thing?
No, it was a lot different this year, man. First thing that was different is that we went to FAU for training camp. So we obviously had like our little. Last time we talked, we had been going playing pickup and obviously doing our team workouts, playing pickup twice a week, doing our team workouts.
It wasn't as much like organized stuff yet, though. Like it wasn't like full team shit like like training camp is, obviously.
Yeah. So the first difference is that we went to FAU for training camp, and I thought it was a great switch up to kind of show us the difference between like, all right, this is preseason or not, like obviously not preseason, but this is before the season starts, and then training camp is like, all right, like we're here. This is the season. We're locked in. We're here for 4 days. We're here for 5 days. Like we're practicing. We're having team meals. We're having different meetings and different people coming to speak to us. We're having 2-a-day practices from time to time. So it was a great experience to not only be in training camp but be off the Heat's practice court. Like we were at FAU. And
how far is FAU from Miami?
An hour.
Oh, really?
So we stayed at a beautiful beach resort called Boca Beach Club, and man, it was really, really great experience. I think the first thing I want to shout out is just the organization. From an organizational purpose, like Spo and company do an amazing job of just getting guys fired up. Like we had a meeting the night before training camp, and all these different videos of finally people breaking through, right? The Heat have the most playoff wins in the past 4 years. They made it to the finals twice in the past 4 years. I mean, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7, one of the years. And
they should have made it 3 out of 4 years, probably.
I mean, you look at a Jimmy Butler.
They're as close as you could possibly get.
Jimmy Butler
like winning that Game 6 in Boston. Yeah, but sorry, I cut you off and diverted from what you were saying. But
yeah, but the whole entire theme of our first meeting was breaking through that mountaintop, showing videos of Michael Jordan finally beating the Pistons after 2 years, showing
chills.
A marathon runner, people saying that you can't break 2 hours, and he's the first marathon runner ever to break 2 hours after failing, running a marathon in 2 hours and 2 minutes. Running a marathon in 2 hours and 23 seconds, and then finally breaking through and running a marathon under 2 minutes.
The whole marathon under 2 minutes, yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Sorry. So just watching just different people, Coco Gauff, finally winning her first U.S. Open, like just all these different people breaking through, and it just gives you chills and just gets a guy like me and you and Adam just fired up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're a guy that's susceptible to that stuff too. Like that definitely got you going pretty big.
Oh, that stuff gets me going. So having that first meeting kind of setting the tone was obviously great for me. And then we went right into training camp that next day. We got up early, got to the gym, and I started to get this routine of going with the strength coaches early to the gym. So Bam and I would get in the car with the strength coaches. We get there like 30 minutes early, and we try to get a lift in and get some shots up before anyone got there, and just trying to just create that mentality of like, all right, like I'm gonna prove that I belong to be here.
Right.
And training camp, and from there training camp started, and we had some two and a half hour practices, 3 hour practices, and then a lot of team building as well.
So I wanted to get to this later, but we could, since you touched on it, I think we got to like delve into the. It's been very cool from my standpoint and from your friends and fans' standpoint to follow the quotes from Bam specifically. Him and Duncan seem to be like two guys that are kind of taking you under your wing. But Has that just budded through like them seeing that you're working your ass off and you're like there at the gym at the same time as them? And I know you've said before on here, but like Bam's working out like 5 times a day, and is he just see you as like he's like, oh, okay, like this kid has shit together. That's why he's kind of like taking a liking towards you.
I mean, that's what I would like to think, right? And I also
Mm-hmm.
think it's because of my play too. It's one thing to be a hard worker, it's one thing to do the right thing, but it's another thing just to play to that level as well.
Yeah, you gotta be good too.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always prided myself, you know, this Patty, of just, and I've said this a bunch of times on the podcast, of being a guy who is going to do whatever it takes to make it, right? And it's going to do whatever it takes to try and be the hardest worker on every single team I'll ever be on. And I think just Bam seeing me do that is obviously a big thing for him, but also like the amount of questions I ask him, the amount of questions I ask Duncan, like they get to see how hungry I am.
Right.
And they've been so gracious to not only answer those questions, but be like, hey, like ask as many questions as you want. Like we're on the book for you. And it's been cool because obviously they've kind of like painted this narrative of like, and it's a narrative that's properly painted, but of like the Duncan and Cole relationship of like, like the guy who's made it and the guy who's trying to make it, right? And it's cool because I did ride down to training camp with Duncan, right? And I'm asking him all these questions. He's asking me these questions. We're talking about people that we know from the same area.
Yeah. Well, can you explain that relationship a little bit? Because that's been in articles, but like, how long have you known Duncan?
So I've known Duncan personally, probably not for that long. Like, I've really started, like, our friendship began when I joined the Heat, right? But I've known Duncan probably since, I would say 3 years ago. Like, we followed each other.
But like, you definitely, he was like kind of on your radar because you're from the same area, right?
Oh, 100%. I remember going to see him play for Middlesex Magic when I was playing for the
hell yeah.
Hawks.
Yep.
When I was playing for the Rhode Island Hawks back in the day, and he was committed to Williams. And I remember vividly just being in Cumberland, Rhode Island, watching him play AAU basketball. But
Williams basketball, best Division III program in the country, in the history of Division III basketball, of course. But yes, go on.
But yeah, so I've told the story a couple times, and I think I've even told the story on this podcast. But to our new Heat listeners, I'll recap it.
Of course.
On draft night, obviously, you never know what's going to happen. And talking to Pelinka 2 days before the draft, when it was June 21st, draft was on June 23rd. I was working out with the Lakers June 21st. We're in like the team like meal room, and I'm talking to Rob, and we're talking about just some guys that I compare myself to in the NBA and everything like that. And Rob goes to me. He's like, hey, like on draft night, I offered Duncan the same contract that the Heat did, but the Heat went after him a little bit more. Like, I don't want to make that mistake again. So, fast forward, right? 2 days later, Pelinka offers me a 2-way contract on draft night. Trying not to make the same mistake he did before, because obviously Duncan went on a great career.
Right.
So I hit up Duncan. I DM'd Duncan after that. I was like, hey, like, I'm not here without you, man. Like, I appreciate you paving the way for a guy like me to make the NBA and give me this opportunity.
He really has. Like,
no, he has.
He served as like a blueprint for so many guys like you, like of how to start out where he was and make it. And it's like, I don't know. There's definitely so many, like even just talking like with you and Buddy, he's one of the first people that you guys mentioned when it's like, who do you model your game after? Who do you like see yourself maybe becoming in the league? It's like, that's actually aspirational.
And it's crazy because like, so Duncan has that big year, and all of a sudden Joe Harris gets paid. All of a sudden, Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Hawks gets paid. All of a sudden, Kevin Huerter gets paid. All of a sudden, like another contract.
He just like provided more. It's like more value in the like, guys like that. Like, didn't McDermott get paid too after that?
McDermott gets paid. Like, obviously JJ Redick, like, he might have been the year he started making like a lot of money. Like truly making like $15 to $20 million worth of money. So Duncan's been a catalyst for guys like me to to not only make it in the NBA but make a lot of money in the NBA.
Yeah.
So obviously hitting him up was a big deal for me. So just having that kind of relationship of like not only, and then fast forward to now, it's like I feel like I not only have learned so much from him, but I owe my existence in the NBA not entirely to him. Obviously, I worked really hard and everything like that. But
I know exactly what you mean, though. Yeah.
There has to be a blueprint in terms of like how you're gonna make it to the NBA. Like, for example, like Oscar Tshiebwe would have been a top 5 pick in 1985.
Yeah.
But now he's fighting for a two-way because there's not as many guys like him in the NBA. So it's just it's a sign of the times, and obviously super thankful to Duncan and just having guys like Bam and Duncan to bounce ideas off of, talk to. Bam's coming over to me during shoot-arounds in the preseason and making sure like I know like what I'm doing. If I make a mistake, like this is what you can do here. So, and Spo likes this, Spo doesn't like this. This is the reason. Like Spo gets really angry at this. He'll take you out of the game for this, but he won't take you out of the game for this. Whatever, like
That's
all
awesome.
that stuff,
Yeah.
and it's great.
Yeah, I mean that like I said, it's just been very fun to follow because I think it's obviously well deserved. But like if you're making that quickly of an impression on guys that are like established like that, I was like that had me feeling very good about like your situation, where it was headed. But go ahead.
Like the NBA, like to make it in the NBA as an undrafted guy, you have to have like certain situations, right? You have to have a coach that believes in you. You have to have a GM that believes in you. You have to have a star player that likes you. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have like a lot of things fall in your place. And I think having a guy like Bam that likes me and he's a franchise player, having Spo, having coached a lot of guys like me, I think it's like just the perfect scenario for me to really succeed and become the best version of myself.
Yeah, and like the front office and the coaches definitely see other players and like other coaches taking a liking to you. It's like, all right, well, they definitely know what they're talking about and they're established enough that they're gonna like value their opinion. But my only other question with training camp is, guy in your role, do you like find yourself putting more emphasis on made or missed shots in those practices because you feel like you're kind of fighting for a spot, or do you try and just treat it like any other practice?
I mean, I always say this, man. When you're patented as a shooter, like you want to make shots, like and when you
Right.
miss shots, like everyone, like I honestly didn't shoot the ball particularly well during training camp until the last day, but I think what really like helped me stand out was that I was still jacking them. I was still shooting.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I still had the confidence to shoot those shots and not be afraid to go 1 for 8, not be afraid to go 2 for 9,
That's
not be
what
afraid
it's
to
the
take
most
the game.
underrated quality in a shooter that people don't talk about.
Like I wasn't afraid to be in a game, be in a scrimmage game with Jimmy Butler, and take the game-winning shot and miss and almost lose my team
Yeah.
game. Like thank God I got a steal in the next possession and Jimmy came down and made the shot. But like, I wasn't afraid of that, and I think that's the
Right.
biggest thing. Like, so Shaq Harrison, I think I've talked to this story about before in the past, but Shaq Harrison played with Max Strus in Chicago. Max Strus on his two-way with Chicago. He was on a two-way with the Celtics, got cut. Was on a two-way with Chicago. During that time, Max wasn't getting a lot of reps with the Chicago Bulls. Was playing Windy City, killing it. Came up with the Bulls during like that look because there was the COVID shutdown that year. I guess
Right.
Shaq said that he came into the bubble. He was like they had like their own mini bubble. He was killing like first guy in the gym, last guy out, winning all the shooting games, killing all the scrimmages, and Shaq compared it to how I was playing with the Lakers during my two-way year. He gets cut. He doesn't get brought back to the Bulls, and he's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna take this E10 down in Miami, just see what happens." Like, not like writing himself off, but like, "Hey, I'm just gonna take this E10 and
Yeah.
see what happens." And
Now he's
Shaq was
$60
like-
million.
yeah, Shaq was like, "Yo, like one thing that he said was that like he didn't have a great training camp. He didn't shoot the ball that well, and then." He had one like that year. They only had 2 preseason games because it was the year the messed up year where like guys were getting called up left and right. Like you know what I mean. It was just
It was like it started. Is it the year after the bubble?
the year after the bubble.
Yeah. So they started. They had like a month and a half off season.
a month and a half off season. So he said that he had one good game and then he had one bad game. But like Jimmy liked that he was like a gunslinger. Like he shot it no matter. Yeah, like he wasn't afraid to miss shots.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of went into my mind when going into the camp. But it's obviously taking the right shots as well and show like you can't be afraid of the moment in a guy in my position. And I think I don't think I felt victim. I don't think I felt victim to that last year with the Lakers. I was still shooting it, but this year I was comfortable taking those shots and knocking them down.
Well, that was the Spurs game, dude. Like, I mean, we got to get to it, but like, if you go 5 for 9, if you light it up and have 17 in the fourth quarter, like, you can go 3 for 14 the next game. It's gonna happen. But then, like, I don't know. Since then, I think you shot over 50%. It's just the law of averages. But, yeah, you just kind of have to have the balls to just keep shooting the ball. But okay, so training camp ends. Going into the first preseason game, do we want to get to that now, or do we want to save for a little bit later when you actually let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the game first, and then we'll talk about you becoming a global phenomenon afterwards. But so you're going into that game. Were you expecting, like, do you have a sense of what your playing time is going to be? Like, do you know where you kind of lie in the rotation, or
no sense.
Did you still have like question marks about it?
Yeah, no sense.
None at all.
One thing I like to do, if you've been in the NBA, like they schedule.
I have not. So please expand.
I'll expand a little bit.
Right.
So obviously, like they have a schedule of minutes, right? So Bam knows that he's gonna start at 12, and then he's gonna come out at 3, and then he's gonna go back in at 10, and then finish the half, right? Whatever, like that's usually how minute flows. Or he'll come back in at 8 and then finish the half. So he'll play about 17 minutes in both halves. Second half is more of like a coach's feel based on how the game's going. So I like to go to the coach and be like, hey, like, am I in? Like that was the line that I used with the Lakers when I was playing up top. Hey, am I in? And they say yes or no. So I went to the video. One of our head of player development guys, and I was like, "Hey, Dan, am I in?" He's like, "Hey, there's like a little slot in the second quarter they might throw you in there for, but like just be ready. Like we don't know." So
so by saying "am I in," you're saying before the game, are you in the rotation? Like
exactly.
Okay.
Am I in the rotation? Am I in the rotation?
I thought you meant like during the game at first. But
no, like before the game, yeah. So I go to Dan. I was like, "Hey, am I in?" And he's like, "No, you probably like we don't know. There's a little sliver of minutes in the second quarter that we might throw you in there for, but just be ready." So I'm like, "All right." So obviously the first half goes by, I don't get in, and the second half starts. I'm thinking like fourth quarter minutes, probably like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then he throws me in there with like 2:30 left. So obviously getting in there at 2:30. Try and get up and down a couple of times, but I think I let him go pretty early.
Yep.
Miss one, and then fourth quarter we can talk. If you have some specific questions about that, fire them away, Patty.
Well, my only question is, as a hoop head like myself, were you like the one that, first of all, I mean, basically the game winner, that one was electric, but the fourth one with like off the dribble handoff.
Yeah.
That's just like the most, like you looked like Max Strus or Duncan. Like that's the most heat action ever.
Yeah. No, I think I give a lot of credit to these Heat guys for expanding my catch and shoot game, or my dribble, like my movement shooting game. If you were so to say. We have a great shooting coach named is Rob Fodor, and the first thing that he talked to me about when I came into the Heat is obviously he's like, if you were a standstill shooter, I wouldn't touch your shot. Like you're shooting 90 out of 100 from 3, like you're killing it. But if you want to be a movement shooter in this league, you have to change a couple of things about your shot. And the first thing he said to me is that you got to release the ball on the way up, and secondly is being able to play low. So like coming off of actions low, coming off of screens low, coming off of just every action, and then being able to get into your shot quick and release on the way up. So if you guys watch me shoot, like I have a naturally like left.
It's on like the left side,
left side, and I have like a little hold up top, but I've such a repetitive pattern of like doing this, of like shooting this way, that I make a lot of shots. Well, the most efficient way to shoot is being able just to get it up on your right hand side and just go right through the motion, not having any pauses on top. So what I've been doing a lot is working with Rob and working with all of our coaches and just working on that fluid motion, right? I'm never going to be a right hip guy, but the more I can get it over to at least the middle of my body, the better I am going to be shooting the ball, right? And there's going to be times where I shoot on my left hip based on defenders' hands and everything like that. So,
Wait, so you've
go ahead.
changed like your form a little bit?
I've changed some of the
just like the bring, yeah.
I've
like
changed
the gather,
some of the yeah, I've changed some of the focuses on my jump shot. Obviously, I'm never going to be a right hip guy, but I'm trying to do more right hip. If you see me shoot free throws, I try and like bring the ball over to my right hand side just to mimic that post.
Yeah.
Mimic that pose, not to change my shot in any way, but just to try and get the ball in that area.
Was there any hesitancy there or no?
I mean, obviously,
like when they were saying that at first, were you kind of like, "What the hell?" Like,
yeah, it's like, all right, I'm shooting.
That's why I'm here.
I'm shooting 90 out of 100, Rob. Like what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, being able to put your pride aside and know, like, hey, like he's developed guys like Duncan and Max and Gabe Vincent and Wayne Ellington and all these guys. Like, like I have, as a shooter, you have to have a certain amount of like ego and like I'm the best shooter in the world, but at the same time, it's like I'm not where I want to be, so let's work at this thing, right?
Yeah.
So whatever. Obviously, trying to change those things, and I'm still getting better at those things. But being able to fly off certain actions, I'm not the fastest guy in the world. Being able to fly off these actions, get my shot off, and I think like I didn't shoot the best this game, but I think the Spurs game proved to myself like I can get my shot off at any time or anyone.
It's attempts. Yep.
And like be able to get it off comfortably where I wasn't able to do that last year in LA. So I think just overall, like Rob obviously has helped a lot, and we talk about that action with Orlando, right? And I throw the ball back to him, and I'm coming off, and I'm a lot lower, but I still took some time off because I did a 2-foot hop, right? And I made the shot, but I did a 2-foot hop, and he almost had time to come back and block my shot. So, like, just even working on stuff like that, like, even though I made the shot in that moment, there's still things that I can do. Like, so even when a guy like Herb Jones is guarding me, like, I can still get that shot off. Not, obviously, no offense to the Charlotte Hornets guy that was guarding me, but just trying to refine my game, refine my skill, and just be the best movement shooter I can be while also expanding my game as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whatever you're doing, it's working. Whatever Rob is cooking up, it's been producing results. So I can't really argue with that. But after that, you get the post game interview. I mean, what a debut! First time ever, your Mugs post game interview, like literally your first time in a Heat uniform. But like, I don't know, were you nervous? You did very well. You sounded like a podcaster, but how did you respond to the attention that was being garnered like right after your first game?
Man, it's a tough balance because at that time I don't have a two-way contract. I don't have a standard contract. I'm a training camp deal, right? And I think the first reaction for myself is like, why am I getting this much attention? Like, obviously it's cool, but like I played the last 14 minutes of the game. We won the game, but like, I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's like, why am I getting this attention? Second off, like, obviously it was amazing to be in that atmosphere, be in that space.
Trending.
Like, I felt.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say so much trending. It's just like to have that like amount of like love from everyone is amazing. But at the same time, I try to stay locked in. Like I was telling you guys before, like I went to the gym one night probably when I was a little tired. I probably like could have stayed and rested a little bit, still gone, and then the next morning got the same amount of working. But I literally went just to like prove to myself like, yo, like I'm locked in. Like like I don't care about all the love I'm getting. Like that doesn't change my routine. That doesn't change the way again. Obviously, didn't shoot the best against the Spurs the next game, but it's a part of the process of going of like learning yourself, learning your body, and just trying to improve every single day.
one thing I actually skipped over. So the night before that, people may not know, but the night before that, you had that like red white scrimmage with the
Yeah,
Heat. You lit it up. Would you have 24, something
yeah,
like that?
something
And
like that. Yeah.
so is that something that every team does? I don't know if I've ever really like been familiar with that.
Yeah, so, some teams do it. The Lakers, we didn't do it, but some teams do that. Like the reason why we do that is because it's a fundraiser for like cancer. So like
Okay.
it's
It
a
seemed like a
fundraiser
cool
for.
event.
Yeah, it was. It was a cool event, and one thing that like Kyle Lowry told me before the game is like, yo, like some people aren't going to take this serious, but like take it serious.
I was gonna
Like,
ask that. Yeah.
you have like you're not like obviously I was going to take it serious no matter what because I'm not on contract, right? But
Yeah.
like he's like, don't be that guy who doesn't take this serious. And
Yeah.
then you look bad, right? So I wouldn't even like, hey, like I'm gonna shoot the ball. I'm gonna play hard
Right.
on defense. I'm gonna rebound. I'm gonna
Yeah.
show like like being a standout in this game isn't gonna hurt me. So let me
Yeah,
be a
exactly.
standout. So that's the mindset I went to that game.
Yeah, I mean, it is a cool event, but like any opportunity you have in your situation to separate yourself or like make a mark, you kind of just got to take advantage of it.
You have to. You have to. I mean, like I think that's like the mindset maturity you go through after like a year in the NBA. It's like, yo, like
Yeah.
especially after I get waived, it's like, yo, like this might not come again if I don't take advantage of it. Like
Mhm.
you might get another opportunity, but like there's nothing guaranteed to get another opportunity in an NBA uniform with the Heat jersey on, with the NBA uniform on, with people watching you play. Like I take that very seriously, and I don't take that for granted because I know like how many people have like worked to get to that spot or like want to be in that spot. So I think I was just like mentally and physically prepared and didn't take that moment for granted. Like any preseason game or any time I was in the gym with the guys.
Yeah. No, I mean that's obviously like I'm not surprised by that you having that mindset, but I think the time's come, Adam. Are you ready with some tweets? I feel like we'll hand it over and have you control this segment. But so a little backstory here for our listeners. One of the weeks that we kind of took off so Swider could focus on the main thing. We were debating that we're saying you were a social media phenomenon, trending on Twitter. Brandon Miller's first NBA action. You were literally the headliner. So pretty surreal event.
Yeah.
But as many people who listen to the podcast, I'm sure, I search her name on Twitter all the time. I know Adam does the same thing. And people were firing on all cylinders. There was hilarious tweets from everyone. So, Adam, take it away. Let's give, how many do you have? Maybe we can make this a recurring thing. So if you want to get read on the
For
show,
sure.
then tweet something funny about Swider.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so like Patty said, we're always searching Cole's name on Twitter. I do want to say I feel like that's kind of our job though to stay on top of it. So it's not
Oh,
it's not
absolutely.
like it's not as embarrassing as if I was just constantly doing it, but we do stay on top of it. And now we're gonna make it a segment. So I feel like it's definitely
I'm not
worth it.
embarrassed by it at all. At Cuse, I used to do that with my name almost every day.
Wow. All right. So one that stuck out to me, like people make the connection between Duncan and all these other, lower contract guys that works their way up through the Heat system compared to other organizations. So one of my favorites was Cole Swider and Jamal Cain in an elimination game against the Celtics, and it's the Kobe and Shaq meme with the camera slowly panning up their them in their warm up suits and stuff. So I thought that was really funny, and that was early in preseason too. It was after those first couple games, I think.
There was a ton of those ones. Like when you went off against the Hornets, there were so many tweets that were like this MFer is gonna have 28 against the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals because the Heat have had so many guys that do it.
So it's just so on brand. Just so on brand.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, God damn it, they lost Strus and now they just replaced him with this guy.
That's hilarious.
All right,
I just
and
feel
number
like
two.
those connections like that people make are funny, and then like 25 people copied the same tweet in the same night. I just had to make that
Exactly.
clear because they saw it go, get 250 likes and they want 251. So
It was
that
kind of
was
doing
funny.
numbies, yeah.
And the other one we have there's a couple that of people trying to like coin the nickname, which is funny to me. Like the Swider Man, we've seen that a million times. Some people said Coal World, and like Swider brought that up, I think, like a year ago, like in our first episode as a nickname for
Right.
that. So there's
Literally
a couple
very
memes
first
of
episode,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. I think we asked him, right, like what's a good nickname, and he was like the Thor.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so that's why I was truthfully a little starstruck to hop on the airwaves today. We haven't talked in like 3 weeks, but I feel like you're, I don't know, 80% more famous. That sound like Bill Simmons just giving random percentages, but
Yeah.
80% more famous than the last time we spoke. So, good on you. But so you play the Spurs, like I said, not as good of like a shooting effort from the field, but at that point, it's like I'm sure the coaching staff and everyone's just looking at the attempts and they're like, all right, this guy could still get 14 shots off in an NBA game. But from there, like, does the first game then fuel a bunch of confidence for the rest of the preseason, or did you kind of like just have the same mindset throughout?
Yeah, I had the same mindset throughout. Obviously, like when you have that first game, it's like kind of like a sigh of relief. It's like, all right, I had one good game, but at the same time, like I want to kind of replicate those performances.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to know as a shooter, like you're not going to shoot unbelievable every single game. Like all you can do is prepare, take the right shots, and you're going to have games where you shoot 3 for 14. You're going to have games where you shoot 5 for 9. You're going to have games where you shoot 5 for 10, 5 for, you know what I mean? Like 5 for 6. Like there's gonna be a bunch of range of games. Like I've told us a bunch. I say this almost every single interview I have. But I started my Syracuse season 3 for 25 from 3.
Yeah.
And then I ended 41% from 3. Like it's gonna happen. So I think like being stressed out over like a 3 for 14 game, like you're not a real shooter if you're stressed out over a 3 for 14 game.
Speaking
You
of,
don't want it to happen, but
yeah, no, but it happens.
yeah.
You can't be, but like going 3 for 14 that night is better than going 2 for 8.
100%.
If you pass up the open shots. But to relate or to connect it to the last two segments, I think when you started 3 for 25, there was some mean spirited tweets from one Adam Lewis. Have you ever been a tweet guy, Adam, or no? Like about
put out
cues?
tweets.
Yeah.
I've never put out a negative
Yeah.
tweet in my life. I don't think it's
Yeah,
your digital
that's
footprint.
tough.
I'm applying for jobs.
Yeah. Like, why are you doing that?
That's
They're
great.
kids, man.
That's great.
But so the rest of the preseason happens. Do you have a feeling on what type of deal you're going to get towards the last couple games, or is it still in the air, like up in the air?
Yeah, obviously, I thought I had 3 pretty good games after having that like so game, and I think going into that last game, I had a pretty good sense that I could potentially get the 2-way. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think talking to my agent, talking to Bill, just talking to everyone within the organization, the way they were treating me in those games, I was getting first half minutes in 3 games in a row. And I felt pretty good about it. I think I'd put in the work. I'd done everything I could to that point to make it. And going into that last game, I felt good.
So
Felt good about the 2-way contract. You never know about the standard contract. But one thing I did know is that we needed a point guard. So I knew Drew Smith had played well in training camp. I knew he had played well in a couple of those preseason games. So I had a feeling that they would choose a point guard in that situation over a guy like me. And Jamal had earned that contract as well. So I was pretty confident I was going to be with the Heat. I didn't know in what capacity, but I was going to be ecstatic no matter what.
So was there other team? I mean, you don't have to say it, but a guy in your position, like there is kind of other teams on your radar still up until the end of preseason?
Yes and no. I asked Nico about it, and he said like a lot of these teams are going over their own talent.
Right.
And for me, it wasn't even I think I talked to you about this like privately, Patty. It was like to me, it wasn't even about like wanting to go to another team. I wanted to be with the Heat, and that's the first thing I told Spo. I'm so happy you offered me this contract because I wanted to be
I will say
very badly.
that is.
But the only reason I would have wanted another team to come in is just so I could hold, like, for lack of a better term, like hold a gun to the Heat's head, like, hey, like,
right,
like I really want to stay.
like a negotiation tactic. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course. No, but I will say that is in no way lip service. I could read our private text right now for the last 6 weeks, and like you've been fired up to be in Miami. You absolutely love the Heat.
Yeah. No, it's just a great fit, and I think they've had a lot
Yeah,
of
it
guys
really
like to be
is.
successful. And one of the first things that Spo said, uh, we had a Heat culture meeting and talking about the culture of the Heat. And one of the first things that Spo said was that like we're not, how do you phrase it? He's like, we're dream makers. Like we take that undrafted guy that has that spirit and heart and turn him into a star. Like we're not a team that I forget the other phrase that he used, but that the phrase that he used was we're dream makers. And I was like,
Hell
wow,
yeah.
like I want to be here.
Yeah, we are. We are. We signed with the Heat, and now we're dream makers too. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait for all the stories on these airwaves about Spo because he is the best coach in the world, and he does it in like such an intense, like fiery way. Like his method of coaching is definitely going to be very like entertaining to follow. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Al.
quick story. Sorry, Adam. Quick story before we end here. Obviously, Adam, you have
Right.
something to say, but
I have one more question too, but
yeah, of course. My mom went out to Seattle with Mr. Heron like a couple, probably like 6 or 7 years ago, and Eric Spoelstra was in the event, and my mom actually got coffee with Spo at
six
the
or seven
event.
years
Right?
ago, you said?
Yeah, like seven
Oh,
years
really?
ago, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
So my mom at the time was like, hey, like I'm never gonna like I like this guy a lot. Like, you would be a great fit with Miami. Like, the whole entire pre-draft process, everything. She was like, I would love for you to go to Miami. Like, he seems like a great coach.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously, I don't get a pre-draft workout with the Heat. They don't bring me in at all, which is kind of confusing because I feel like I fit the Heat.
Of course.
So the first time I meet Spo in person, maybe the second time, I was like, hey, like, my mom wanted me to bring this up to you. Of like, she was in Seattle working for Chris Herren. He's like, I remember that. I remember getting coffee with your
Really?
mom. He's like, I remember getting coffee with your mom. Is she about 6'3"? And I was like, yeah, my mom's 6'3". She's like, yeah, I remember that like very, very well. Like, I'm like, how unbelievable is that he has that
Yeah,
type of
that's
like wherewithal
crazy.
memory to
Yeah.
like he's probably had coffee with so many different people and been in
Yeah.
so many different situations. Like he's unbelievable with stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's my quick
That's crazy.
story.
That's like some politician shit. Like remembering
Yeah,
faces and stories and
yeah,
everything. That's so cool.
yeah. But go ahead,
It's
Adam.
also sweet for your mom. Like
Oh
7 years
yeah,
ago, she's having coffee with an NBA coach, and now her son is playing for the guy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I feel like there's gonna be a bunch of these stories coming out as we go with these like Duncan's from New England. So there's another one. I
Yeah,
kind of want to hear about the timeline a little bit. Like I know you had the game on Friday night, and then I mean, you can talk about hearing how you heard you were getting the contract signed. I think
yeah,
like also it would be interesting if you talked about who you're kind of allowed to tell or what like your inner circle finds out. Like when do they find out?
yeah.
When can you officially announce it? When does the press release come out? And when do you actually sign the contract?
Okay. Um, where do I start? So I found out after the game. Spo brought me into. He had a little office in Houston, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna offer you a two-way." And I'm like, sigh of relief. Thank you. Yes. Like,
Mhm.
thank you, man. Like, I'm super blessed, and I wanted to be here. So great. I think the next step after that is telling my parents, telling my close friends and family, and then the cool thing about me signing at E10 is that they just converted the contract right away. So all we needed was a GM signature to convert me to the two-way. So that was easy. Didn't have to sign anything. They just converted me to the two-way, and then Shams I think tweeted at around noon. Drew Smith and I were in the same tweet, so that was pretty easy. And then
Bam's
yeah,
bomb.
the floodgates open from there.
So, real quick, can you explain again? I know we did this last year, but can you kind of explain the two-way contract for people that might not fully understand it?
Yeah, I think that's part of my job is just explaining the two-way contract.
Yeah, I
So
know. Same here. People ask me, and
every-
I like
yeah,
stumble through it every time.
yeah,
I'm like,
everyone
he's just
knows.
on the Heat. That's the
Yeah,
answer.
exactly. Yeah. So basically, the NBA has a 15-man roster and three two-ways. The three two-ways are kind of like the JV to varsity swing players. You're allowed a certain amount of games with the NBA team. You're allowed to up to 50 games in the NBA team, activated 50 games, and yeah, it's an opportunity for young guys to get an opportunity in the NBA while also having the NBA kind of has like an ecosystem, for lack of a better term, with the G League squad as well. So there was 2 last year. I was blessed enough to have one of the 62 ways. Now there's 3 2-ways, and I was blessed enough to get one this year. So super excited for this opportunity and ready to get going.
And we also should mention that the Heat's G League team is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
It is, yeah. So I'll be going back and forth between Sioux Falls and Miami, which is funny because it's two
polar opposite places.
Two polar opposite places. So yeah, super excited to be going back and forth. I think it'll be a great opportunity in Sioux Falls, and they have one of the best crowds in the G League. So
right,
excited to be out there.
But you start the year with the Heat, right?
Yeah, I'm going to start the year with the Heat. We'll be here for at least the first 2 weeks, and then depending on how I play, if I play, we'll be seeing where I'm going to be headed.
Hell yeah!
So yeah, man.
You'll start with the big squad. Game 1 is this Wednesday. We have live NBA action. It starts on Tuesday with I forget what the matchups are, but the NBA kicks off on Tuesday, and you guys play Wednesday. It's the Swider Show Bowl, you against Buddy with the Pistons. But yeah, anything else? Any final sign-offs before we kind of wrap it up here?
Nah, man, super excited to get the season going. Obviously, super blessed and thankful to the Heat for giving me this opportunity. We're back with the Swider Show. Happy to be back. We got Adam in the building. We got Patty going. So excited to get going. Excited to be back with the Swider Show. We'll be giving you guys some more guests. Hopefully get some Heat players on this podcast. And,
hell yeah.
And be giving you guys some great content. So like always, you Heat fans will know that I always end with this. We're going to kick it over to Patty, and you guys will hear where you guys can follow the show and obviously keep going. Keep on following us with all the platforms. So thank you guys for listening, and see you back here next week.
Season 2, go Heat.
I'm reckless, I'm dumb, according to you, but you don't know shit, huh? You don't know how I move. I'm rolling, I'm smoking the deuce. I ain't telling lies, baby, you know that I'm the truth.